Hey everybody, welcome to our Tuesday night webinar. It's great to have you all on the call tonight. Sorry I'm a couple minutes late. Just had a couple computer little glitches here. I had to restart. How's everybody doing tonight? Anybody get up to anything fun and exciting this weekend? I took my boys and dog and we went out west and we went kayaking on Lake Abraham, and it was so blue and it's so high. It was just a really gorgeous weekend. Hello, Tara. A little bit more. So tonight's topic is going to be corresponding organs to symptoms, and often what symptoms you're experiencing, what organ is suffering or struggling with that. And that should give you a bunch of information on how to support that organ. And by doing so, you can alleviate multiple symptoms at the same time. See, my struggle is a lot of my colleagues or people in the nutritional industry or in the medical industry are so focused on the symptoms. And I think it's really important that we ask the questions, what's causing these symptoms? And we follow this rabbit hole backwards, we're going to come to one of two problems almost always: toxicity or deficiency in an organ, a tissue, or a gland. And by doing so, we can really fine-tune, focus, and target our approach to healing. And often when an organ is under stress and it's causing symptoms to manifest, there's more than one symptom associated with that. And so working at the cause often allows you to alleviate several symptoms and allows for a complete cure to take place within your body. Something that can last as long as that lifestyle or that organism cared for and maintained. All right, so further ado, we've got a couple things. First of all, as a thank you for everybody being on the call tonight. The last few calls, we've started this offer at the beginning of the webinar instead of at the end. So we've got an offer for the people that have been on the call tonight. And that's going to be free shipping. Free shipping on your order until midnight. Requirements here at free shipping is only offered within Canada, and order values have to be at least $100 or more for this to work. Use coupon code SHIP929, or just go ahead and click on that blue button, and that'll take you to the website and offer you that free shipping coupon code for you. There are 20 free shipping coupon codes available tonight, and they're offered on a first come, first serve. But I'll be going over a bunch of key products to use tonight, so you might not want to hurry up and place your order too fast, as you'll likely discover some new products tonight that you feel could totally fit right into your lifestyle. So I'm going to share my presentation screen here. Here we are. I'm going to walk us how to heal the root cause of today's disease. All right, some of the core principles we start off when we look at this is, do you believe the human body can heal from disease without medical intervention? Because I do. Every time I think I've found a disease or disorder or a condition that the human body can't recover from, somebody does it and proves me wrong. And so after 28 years in this industry, I am of the opinion that there's no disease, illness that the body cannot recover from. I think that's important to understand. Now, not everybody heals every time, but the human body is capable of healing if we can remove the obstacles and empower that natural process to happen. Second core principle is food can be medicine. The food you eat can either be creating disease or creating health, and it's up to you. And you know what the trick is here? They both taste great. So then the core principle or question, is why is our generation not healing then? Why do we have more disease than ever before? And why is it happening at younger ages than ever before? And why do we have less wellness than ever before? Let's dive into this body and these organs and these tissues. So when we look at the large intestines, often a large intestine that is holding too many toxins, inflamed, and is struggling or under burden will manifest as things like Crohn's, IBS, colitis, bowel toxemia, constipation, diarrhea, arthritis, or lower back pains. And these aren't all of them. As we know, the large intestine relates to a huge amount of diseases. But these are some of the biggest names of diseases that will associate directly with the large intestine. And tools to help with this? Well, frequent herb cocktail. Use it twice a day, 3 times a day to really help pull and cleanse a lot of that toxicity out of there. Use high levels of probiotics. Consider colonics or enemas. Eat fermented foods and exercise, especially vertical exercise. Diet and lifestyle-wise, avoid wheat and dairy and processed sugars. So if you feel that your intestinal system is under more stress and more burden than it should be, or you've developed things like Crohn's, IBS, colitis, bowel toxemia, constipation, diarrhea, arthritis, and low back pain, then what do you have to lose? Focus on really supporting and cleaning up that intestinal system, and you will likely experience a huge improvement in all of those conditions. That's just the large intestine. Let's look at our liver, for example. Liver is like such an incredible organ. We expect so much from this organ, and yet we give it so little support. See, the liver, it's said, John J. Miller said this, he was a PhD way back, 100 years ago, that the liver is carrying more stress and more burden than it should. And this overburdened liver is creating and manifesting red flags. And these red flags are like hypo and hyperglycemia, forms of diabetes, hepatitis, hormone disorders, behavioral issues, mental disorders, hormone imbalances, behavioral issues. I just noticed that's there twice. Pancreas disorders, gallbladder disorders, thyroid disease, poor eyesights, fatty livers. These are all symptoms and signs of your liver being stressed way beyond where it should be. How do we support the liver? Well, we want to obviously minimize the amount of animal fats we're eating. We want to minimize the amount of processed sugars that we're eating, alcohol, stimulants. Use things like enhanced digestive enzymes with your meals to liquefy your meals and really reduce the demand on the liver for digestive enzymes. Now, just to expand on that, the liver produces metabolic enzymes, not necessarily digestive enzymes, but those metabolic enzymes have to be present for those pancreatic enzymes to be produced. And the pancreas is almost like a little sister organ to the liver. So although the liver doesn't directly produce the pancreatic enzymes or the digestive enzymes, it is responsible for that pancreas's production and functioning of it. So almost like the mother organ to that. Use super digestive enzymes on an empty stomach. These are the enzymes that get right back into that liver. They can help break down the fat that's in there. They can help break down the undigested proteins. They can help heal the cells and the tissues of the liver. Overall, having an increased enzyme content in your liver will always increase the health and the livelihood and healing ability of your liver. Now, eFusion, this is an incredible product for your liver. We see this in diabetes and hypoglycemia probably the most. People that have high blood sugar levels and start using that frequent eFusion, like 6 to 9 tablespoons per day, almost always see a huge improvement in their blood sugar levels. With continual use and lifestyle adjustments and changes, often people are experiencing such improvements in their diabetes and hypoglycemias that they hardly have to take any medications at all. And this works very prevalently in hypoglycemia and type 2 diabetes. Even type 1 diabetes is responding very well to high levels of effusion and superdigestive enzymes. Using a product like superfood or high green alkaline food also really helps chelate and pull a lot of the toxins out of that liver, binds it up in those green chlorophylls, and expels it out of the body. But your liver also requires a very high level of amino acids and minerals. So using a product like the RP3 combined with Avena's minerals really supports the building blocks of what's needed to produce that. Another product that you can really use is lipase enzymes. Using lipase enzymes, why would you do that? Well, if we think about it, one of the biggest problems that start happening in the liver is we start clogging it up with fats. And these can be unhealthy fats coming from our animal fats or our processed fats or hydrogenated fats in all different types of forms. And that fat starts clogging up the pores of the liver, preventing the liver from being able to store and absorb the amount of glucose in our bloodstream. And if we don't store it, then we can't excrete it either. And so the lipase breaks down fats. And so enough of additional lipase gets into that liver and it starts breaking down all these fat buildups that happen in that liver. And that's going to allow that liver to function like it was designed to. And thirdly is magnesium. Over 325 functions of the liver require magnesium to work. And yet, most of us, you, me, and most people on this call, are magnesium deficient. And nobody's talking about it because science does not have a way of measuring magnesium levels in your cells. And that's where magnesium needs to be measured. And so because we don't have the ability to measure that, science seems to ignore it. And we don't talk about magnesium deficiencies. And yet you can simply just Google what causes magnesium deficiencies, and you'll see it's almost everything we do in the North American lifestyle. So again, just to emphasize what I'm talking about here, is these products from Avena aren't there to cure those conditions. The products are there to support the liver. And a healthy liver naturally is able to reverse most of those conditions. I feel that those conditions are caused by a struggling, overburdened liver. The products I'm recommending are there to remove that burden and that struggle. And I believe if we do that, the liver will heal naturally and fix itself. What about our small intestine? Some of the primary conditions that manifest when your small intestines are struggling are things like diverticulitis, indigestion, bad breath, candida, autointoxication, or states of bowel toxemia. And so like behind bad breath, I just commented on tooth oil and how effective tooth oil is at breaking through bad breath. Not only is tooth oil really good at addressing the smell and odor of our bad breath, but it is highly antibacterial. So it starts killing off all the bacteria in our mouth. And when it gets into our stomach, when we can swallow it after we're done brushing with it, it helps cleanse the bad bacteria from our stomach and from our small intestinal system. So not only is it just covering the breath, but it's actually helping to improve the conditions, the bad bacteria and the putrefaction that's causing the bad breath to happen. We also talk about candida, and we know probiotics are really important for candida, but candida produces this thing called like a biofilm, and it is necessarily like a cellulose kind of webbing that it uses to protect itself, kind of like a little shield. It digs into your small intestinal system and then lays this like force field, if you want to call it that, made out of cellulose. So when you bring in a product like cellulase that breaks down cellulose and fibers, what you've done is you've ripped off and destroyed most of the protective areas of this candida. And your candida cleanse is going to be far more effective when you do that. So what are some of the other tools that you can do to help your small intestine? Well, herb cocktail. Because it travels from your stomach through your small and your large intestine, it cleans both the small and the large intestine. B, Majority of your healthy bacteria, your microbiome, exists in that small intestine because it is so much longer than the large intestine. Try taking like 20 capsules a day, 10 in the morning, 10 at night, or 8 in the morning, 8 at night, and the rest with each meal. So separate with like 1 with each meal. What that's going to do is greatly improve your digestion, but also help reset the microbiome that is so important for that health. Other thing we want to do is we want to make sure food is entering your small intestine in a liquid form, because that's what it was designed to do. And it is really important to remove the burden and stress off that small intestine by providing it with enzymes. By providing your meals with enzymes, you'll get a complete liquefaction. If you've ever watched the enzyme webinar that I did, where the oatmeal just turns into a liquid right in front of the camera, that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about food liquefying, so that when it enters the small intestine, I'll just turn on my webcam here again. So if this is the little villi in your intestinal system, solid food runs over that and doesn't get used, but a liquid is going to fill all of these little crevices. And that's where we get proper digestion and absorption from. Other things you can do in your lifestyle are eat more homemade fermented foods. Things like kimchi, coconut almond cultures, kefirs, but make them out of almond milks or coconut milks. Try to avoid dairy and wheat products. Dairy is very mucus forming, and wheat is like that sticky adhesive glue. And imagine what happens in all those villi when you cover it with gluten and you cover it with the sticky glue and the mucus forming from that. Just take a second. You can probably imagine what that would look like after days and days of pizzas and cheeseburgers and yogurts and glasses of milk. I know that mental image was enough for me to really stop abusing my small intestinal system and start feeding it with high fibrous foods, cleaning, and making sure that I'm getting proper liquefaction of all my meals. When you look at the stomach, and so far we're still just on the digestive tract here, but a stomach that's under too much burden, or it's been used and abused, alcohol, bad bacteria, overeating foods, gluttonous behaviors, often some of the conditions you'll see are things like ulcers. These can come from bacteria, but also high stress levels. If you have ulcers, consider using the gastric enzymes instead of the normal enzymes. And the reason here is the normal enzyme contains protease, and protease breaks down the scar tissue. When you have active ulcers in your stomach, the scar tissue is like a Band-Aid, and the wound hasn't healed yet. So the protease is like ripping off the Band-Aid before it's healed. So the gastric enzyme is designed to get behind there without protease, heal up that ulcer. And so when you switch back to a normal enzyme and you peel off that Band-Aid, the ulcer is healed and you're good to go. Another common situation that we experience in the stomach is acid reflux. Right? This acid reflux can turn into like GERD. Now, increasing your enhanced digestive enzymes is really important for this process. An increased enzyme content will definitely improve the liquefaction of the food. And so just explore acid reflux a little bit further. You're never supposed to have a stomach full of acid. And when you do, and that upper valve in your stomach is open, you'll regurgitate that acid up into the upper curve of the stomach and up into the throat. And that's called acid reflux and cause heartburn. Why would we have a stomach full of acid? Well, acid is produced when we eat food. Now, what we're finding today is people are so afraid of salt that they've minimized or removed salt to the point where it's negative on their body. Without enough salt, you can't produce hydrochloric acid. And so your food has entered your small intestinal system, has left your stomach and started its journey through the small intestine before the stomach acid has been able to be produced. See, in your blood, you've got hydrogen and chloride. Hydrogen came from the water that you drank, the hydrogen and the oxygen. The oxygen was used for your cells, the hydrogen was left behind. The chloride is there from sodium chloride, which is salt. Your salt is used as one of your electrolytes in your system. It's also used by your sodium potassium pump. And that leaves chloride behind. And so when you have proper levels of salt, you have proper levels of hydrogen and chloride in your bloodstream. And so when you eat food, the body uses hydrogen and chloride to make hydrochloric acid, and it pumps that into the stomach. It mixes with your food, and then it travels with your food, leaving your stomach empty. If your food travels through too fast before the stomach acid has been produced, and it's usually just because we don't have enough hydrogen and chloride in our bloodstream, then we're ending up with this hydrochloric acid being late to the party. And now it's sitting there in the stomach without food to interact with. And so when we sit down or we lay down, it flows right up into that upper curve of that stomach, causing acid reflux and heartburn. Now, if you're chronically experiencing this, you may have things like a herniation on that pyloric sphincter. Enzymes are still going to help. Enzymes reduce inflammation that's going on inside of there. Something else you want to consider is heartburn. If you're experiencing a lot of heartburn, one of the best things that we hear from our customers is just a few drops, 3 or 4 drops of tooth oil into a small glass of water and drink it. The peppermint in there really soothes that heartburn and can stop heartburn usually within minutes. So here's some really good tricks, right? Gastric enzymes for ulcers, enhanced digestive enzymes for acid reflux, and even increasing your salt content. Just taking like a pinch of salt onto your tongue before drinking a glass of water, or a pinch of salt right into your glass of water. That can help produce hydrochloric acid at the right times. And if you're experiencing heartburn, try tooth oil. Let's go up to the lungs. So when we look at our lungs, often conditions that we'll see with lungs that are in trouble, overburdened or toxic or not getting what they need, are things like asthma, bronchitis, or chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, also known as COPD. Some tools that you can use to help the lungs is the herb cocktail. Now, why would a herb cocktail in your intestinal system help your lungs? It's all about detoxification. The lungs are trying to detoxify, and they'll do this through our urinary system and through our bowels. But if your bowels aren't clean, they become the source of toxins. And now it's a backwards street. Toxins are coming from your bowels and being stored in your liver and your kidneys and your lungs and your tissues and your skin. We need to reverse that. We need to make sure that the toxins are flowing from the organs into the intestinal system for elimination. Something else is super digestive enzymes. 10 caps 3 times a day is a good aggressive approach to getting a high level of enzymes into those lungs to speed up detoxification, to allow cellular regeneration and healing of those cells. Superfood, also high green food. It's really good for that detoxification, especially the chlorophyll part of green foods. Now, if you don't have the superfood, simply try juicing, having a green juice at least a few times a week. If you could do it every day, that would be amazing. Now, massage oil, apply this to your feet daily. And this works through reflexology and stimulating those lungs. This is a relatively newer discovery, I think. I had one person call in and talk about by rubbing massage oil on their feet every night, their COPD decreased by over 75% in the first 2 weeks and almost completely disappeared within 3 months. And I thought that was interesting. And so I encouraged other COPD customers or clients of mine to try the same thing, to see how they experienced or what they experienced. And what they started to experience was over 60% of the COPD patients that I recommended to do massage oil, reflexology on their feet, all commented on incredibly positive changes in their COPD. This chronic coughing that they have was disappearing, and a lot of their symptoms were reversing. Some things you want to do in your lifestyle to make sure that this is working well is drink 3 or more liters of clean, structured water. It's like mountain spring water or restructured water. Your waters you want to avoid, obviously, are like tap waters. I'm not personally a huge fan of reverse osmosis waters or distilled waters. Try to avoid coffee. For obvious reasons, try not to smoke. This includes, cigarette smoke, nicotines, marijuanas, anything that's going to add burden and stress onto our lungs. And you can practice deep breathing. An exercise that I would suggest that you can try doing is try taking a 5-second inhale, holding your breath for 5 seconds, and exhaling for 5 seconds. And repeat that for 5 minutes. It is hard work. The first cycle, second cycle, probably pretty easy. But to maintain that cycle for 5 minutes, really difficult. Don't be surprised if you can't do it the first few times. Do the best you can. And if you have to take a quick breath or exhale quickly to kind of try to feel like you're catching up, do so, and then start again. And just do the best you can, but do it for the full 5 minutes. What about this heart? Such an important organ. Some of the conditions you'll see with a heart that's under stress or in a difficult position are like high blood pressure, experience dirty blood, or any of your cardiovascular diseases are all associated with the heart. Tools that we can use to support our heart would be things like superdigestive enzymes, superfood, herb cocktail, E-fusion, and electric C. Thank you, Lorraine. Lorraine's just adding in a little tip there from a reflexologist. Put the oil on the ball of the foot, which is where the lung area is, and on the top of the foot in the same lung area. That's awesome to know. Thanks for that tip, Lorraine. I know other people were just applying it everywhere because they didn't know exactly where that lung position was. So I'll go through some of these tools and try to define how they're working. First of all, the superdigestive enzyme is such a blood cleanser. It breaks down the cholesterols, the fats, the proteins, the fibers, the carbohydrates that are stuck in our bloodstream. And by doing so, that makes the blood more viscous, less pressure on that heart. The superfood is your high green food. It helps chelate and pull a lot of the blood contaminants out of the bloodstream. It also binds a lot of these contaminants to the chlorophyll so it doesn't get reabsorbed. The herb cocktail, because a lot of the toxins ending up in our bloodstream started from our intestinal system. So we need to trap them in the intestinal system and pull them out. The E-fusion is a potent form of vitamin E. Vitamin E is a natural blood thinner. It's also a tissue healer. So this can help heal the muscular components of the heart, at the same time reducing pressure in the bloodstream by being a natural blood thinner. And the last one there, the electric C. Vitamin C is well known to be an immune booster as well as a detoxification on the cellular level. So it gets into the cells of the heart and starts breaking up and detoxifying some of the toxics and buildups and blockages that happen in there. Third thing, aerobic exercise. Anything that elevates your heart rate will increase the blood flow. That increased blood flow is going to naturally help decontaminate that blood. And so exercise has always been a recommended therapy for heart conditions. And in fact, not doing any kind of exercise is probably the worst thing you can do for your heart. Now, I'm not talking about being completely sedentary and then trying to go out and run a marathon, because you probably won't be able to physically do that. But what you can do is start doing something. Maybe that's taking the stairs at work instead of the elevator. Maybe it's going for a walk every night. Maybe it's jump rope or jumping jacks or something. What you're looking for is an elevated heart rate. You want your heart to be beating faster and harder than it normally does every day. And by doing so, it is going to pump more blood through your kidneys and through your filters like your livers and your spleens, and that's naturally going to be able to clean that. Second thing the exercise is going to do is help your lymphatic system. So it's a win-win in so many different areas. What about our muscles? So some of the conditions associated with your muscles are like muscle loss. As we age, losing the strength, losing the thickness and the firmness of our skin because of the muscle tissue. Other things we can experience is like muscle twitching and cramping, soreness of our muscles, like achy muscles that just don't seem to recover, or muscles that are taking forever to heal. Some of the support tools that you can use is raw proteins. See, cooked proteins have up to 42% of those quality of amino acids damaged by heat. There's very few completely raw protein supplements on the market. Whey is always going to be heated. Creatine, always going to be heated. Casein, always going to be heated. Soy, always going to be heated. Some of your hemp and plant-based proteins can be raw, but it's much easier to pasteurize and heat them. So a raw protein will always emphasize the raw. And Avena's produced an RP3, which is all 22 raw available amino acids, never touched heat. We add enzymes and probiotics in there for the maximum absorption and utilization of raw protein. Use the E-Fusion. This helps heal that muscle tissues. A lot of my professional athletes, like Dorian and Darren and Elle, these are like world-class athletes. They're competing with the best in the world. Dorian actually won two gold medals in both of the Olympics that he attended. And what they're finding is combining the RP3 and the E-Fusion is allowing them to recover up to 3 times faster. Darren's been quoted to actually call it vampire healing. You also want to use ionic zinc. Ionic zinc is a huge component to producing testosterone. And testosterone production is vital for muscle production and muscle maintenance and maintaining muscle masses. And this is important for females and males. Males will use higher levels of testosterone and produce higher quantity of muscle mass, but females, you need testosterone as well to maintain the muscle masses you have. You just don't need as much of it as the men do. The other product I recommend is the pin magnesium. Using pin magnesium before you go to bed at night often reverses restless leg syndromes, allows for a deeper, healthier sleep to happen. It also helps with muscle recovery. Remember when Winindia Beale was doing her cross-country trip? She biked from Vancouver Island to Newfoundland. So she was going across all of Canada on 100% raw food on a road bike. What she found was by using pin magnesium, she could go longer and further every single day instead of shorter, which is what typically people would experience. She also did 3 Ironman triathlons in 72 hours, and she was using pin magnesium like crazy. But what it allowed for was like almost immediate recovery. She would do an Ironman triathlon, which normally then takes 2 weeks to recover from. The next morning, she felt so good, she felt she did it again. And then on the third day, she felt so good, like she had fully recovered and she was capable of doing another Ironman triathlon that she did. Fourth day, she woke up, told her husband, Gray, that she was going to do a 4th Ironman triathlon. He said, no way, we're going home, you're done. Just look at some of the conditions associated with reproductive organs. Conditions like low libido, infertility, low sperm counts, erectile dysfunction, endometriosis, enlarged prostate, chronic yeast infections. This can be your uterus, in guys, it's often our prostate and our testicles. In females, it is everything from your uterus, fallopian tubes. I'm totally drawing a blank there. How do we support these though? How do we support reproductive glands? Because what I find is the human body, if it has to choose something, now obviously the human body doesn't want to sacrifice any part of our body, but if something has to store toxins, if something has to be sacrificed, often the ability to reproduce is one of the first it'll let go of. And so men, we carry a lot of chemical toxicity in our prostates. Females will carry a lot of them in their uteruses. This can show up with uterus fibroids. Men, it'll show up as enlarged prostate or prostate cancers. How do we support the reproductive organs? Well, detoxification. Because of what I was just talking about, the body will store toxins in our reproductive organs because it has to choose somewhere to store it. And reproductive organs, well, the ability to reproduce, although important, is not as important as your heart or your kidneys or your survival organs. We will also want to use enhanced digestive enzymes. Enhanced digestive enzymes help not only detoxify, but repair and stimulate and produce the hormones that are needed to run these reproductive organs. Same thing goes with the superdigestive enzymes. These are just much stronger, can be used to stimulate the natural hormones and health of that reproductive system. Product like Herbal Balance. This helps balance out the hormones. So it encourages natural production of hormones by your liver and your tissues. And by naturally producing an increase in this balancing of hormones, what happens if a hormone is too low, it's encouraged to produce more of. If a hormone is too high, it encourages less production of that. And so it's naturally trying to balance the production of hormones inside your system. And effusion, well, we've heard effusion used several times here to help heal stressed and organ tissues. Even things like the small intestine, the little villi. We've seen the effusion, that high quality vitamin E, really helps stimulate the recovery of these tissues. Proteolytic probiotics, especially in situations like chronic yeast infections. I've heard wonderful things of females that decide to use proteolytic probiotics like a vaginal douche to insert, basically they mix it in like a distilled water or spring water, and they use that to rinse and implant the healthy bacteria to fight off yeast infections. Because proteolytic probiotics will consume and digest yeast as a food supply, and no other probiotic does that. Last one was the ionic zinc. Again, for testosterone, this mostly plays a role in male reproductive tissues, that enlarged prostate or erectile dysfunction. Start using ionic zinc, 3 half droppers twice per day, and you'll notice an improved function of your prostate, of your libido, as well as your erectile dysfunction, if that's what you're dealing with. Just to touch on that yeast infection a little bit more, you can also use colloidal silver sprayed right on the site of infection and the probiotic right on the site of infection. So if we're having thrush or any kind of topical yeast infection, you can use the colloidal silver and probiotic topically, as well as internally in any of those body cavities or orifices that yeast loves to grow in. Let's touch base, because we were just on reproduction, let's touch base on pregnancies. What are some things that we want to do to support preconception, pregnancy, and post-pregnancy, or the nursing stage? Well, for pregnancies, when we're talking about preconception, and I love when couples can plan for a pregnancy, because it's really hard to do detoxification while you're pregnant. So if you can focus a few months, like 90 days, to really clean out your intestinal system, flush any parasites that might be in your system out of your body, load your body full of enzymes, probiotics, effusion, superfood, vitamins, and minerals, that is going to create a healthy situation and a healthy environment to create a new body, to create a new life. Now, we don't always have the luxury of preconception. Sometimes pregnancies just happen. During a pregnancy, enzymes are great to use. I typically advise people to wait on megadosing enzymes, anything more than 30 a day, until after the first trimester. Once you're into the second trimester, you're totally okay to use high levels of enzymes. Proteolytic probiotics are always a good idea. We want to have the best microbiome possible to pass on to our offspring. Herbal Balance, going to keep those hormones in check, and that's going to improve your entire pregnancy, especially minimize morning sicknesses. Vitamin Supreme, Pin Magnesium. Pin Magnesium really helps with a lot of the cramping that experiences, the Braxton Hicks, the false labors. We want to have rich minerals because this fetus is asking for minerals all the time. And let me tell you about effusion. All the mothers I work with that have used the effusion during their entire pregnancies have produced these, beautiful, thick, healthy placentas. So much so that the nurses and the midwives and the doctors always feel compelled to comment on it. So our midwife typically discuss that most of the placentas that they see are about the thickness of your pinky finger. So like your fingernail width, which is about 1 centimeter. Now, women that have been using the eFusion for most of their pregnancies will have 3 to 4 fingers thickness of this placenta. So like 3 to 4 times the nutrition that that child is getting. And they get excited about it because the placenta is what delivers all the nutrition to this baby. And so having a healthy, rich, thick placenta can be a huge telltale sign of how much nutrition this child was getting. And RP3 because of the amino acids. Remember, cooked meats and cooked protein sources have a limited amount of usable amino acids, whereas the RP3 provides all 20 usable amino acids. Now let's progress past this beautiful, wonderful, healthy pregnancy that you just had. And let's talk about post-pregnancy and nursing. We want to maintain enzymes to liquefy our food, but we also need to pass enzymes on to our children. And the production of milk is an enzymatic reaction. So to produce healthy lactation, we're going to need an increased level of digestive enzymes. We're going to need an increased level of proteolytic probiotics. Both mom and the child needs this. We found that both my boys and a lot of the pregnant women that I've worked with notice a huge improvement with colicky children or gas, burping, indigestion, bloatedness of their babies, or inability to sleep simply by introducing proteolytic probiotics. One of the best ways of doing this is through your breast milk. By increasing the probiotic in your system, your milk will contain a higher, healthier level of probiotics. But what we chose to do was to actually just like lick our pinky, dunk it into the proteolytic probiotics, and then stick it in our kid's mouth. And the kid would suck that probiotic right off of mom's pinky. And by doing that, it would normally almost always calm down. It got to the point where my wife wouldn't leave the house without a bottle of proteolytic probiotic powder because it made such a huge difference. It was like a night and day difference on the behavior and the happiness of that child. Now, often post-pregnancy brings on postpartum depression. And it's this struggle of this like crazy hormone roller coaster that we're on. So using something like the herbal balance helps minimize that postpartum depression and helps regulate a lot of those hormones. Vitamin Supreme, same sort of idea. Provide the feel-good vitamins, especially the V vitamin range, to keep us out of that depressive state. Right? Being a mom for that first 6 months is really difficult. You're basically acting as like a surrogate for milk production. I remember my wife always commenting on all she feels like she does is feed this child and care for this child. And once you've gone through the whole routine, then it's time to start it all over again. Change more diapers, feed more. And so for her, the next product, the eFusion, was a game changer for her. When she started using the eFusion post-pregnancy, she found and felt that her milk was richer, which meant that she would feed for a shorter period of time, and both of our kids would be sustained longer in between feedings, which gave her almost a life back. She wasn't just constantly feeding this child. She would feed and then be able to go several hours without feeding again. And when they did feed, they fed for a shorter period of time. Now, there are some days that she totally missed the eFusion in the mornings or in the afternoon, and she would notice a huge difference. The kids seemed to always be eating for a longer period of time, almost like they had to consume so much milk to feel satiated. Pin magnesium to really help with a lot of those cramps and discomforts. And of course, obviously the RP3, because we're still producing such an increased level of milk. We want to make sure that we can produce healthy, rich milk full of amino acids, because that's what this child is relying on. Mostly fats and amino acids to build and to grow. So when I talked about, we don't really want to do detoxification during pregnancy, Keep in mind, being constipated is far worse. And so I see situations where mothers don't want to use products like the herb cocktail or any kind of detox while they're pregnant, but they haven't had a bowel movement in 2 or 3 days. Well, the risk of those toxins backing up into that fetus are far greater in a constipated state than using something like the herb cocktail. So obviously try to keep yourself regular, consume high amounts of fiber, drink lots of water, stay active so that you can avoid having to do that. But don't let yourself get caught up in this mindset that you can't use the herb cocktail, because you can if you're chronically constipated or experiencing continual constipation. Let's jump up to this thyroid because we're on the topic of hormones. Some conditions you'll see with a thyroid that is struggling is hyperactive or hypoactive. One means overproducing, the other one means underproducing. Goiters, nodules, Graves' disease, Hashimoto's are all signs that thyroid is not happy. One of the biggest things that I personally see causing unhappy thyroids, first of all, toxic livers, second of all, overexposure to electronics. Radiation, even low level radiation, stuff coming off of your cell phones, your computer monitors, your telephones, your microwaves, these all negatively impact that thyroid. And naturally, we would be consuming iodine. And this iodine level minimizes the damage that this radiation can do to our thyroid. But the other problem is we're not experiencing iodine levels properly anymore. Most of us are deficient in iodine, especially those that live in provinces that are landlocked, because your iodine levels, your iodine sources come from the ocean. Fresh ocean fish, walking in the ocean, breathing the ocean air, playing in the ocean, eating fresh ocean vegetables like kelp and dulse and different forms of seaweeds are all sources of iodine. And yet you talk to most, Albertans or Saskatchewans, Manitobian, people from Manitoba. I don't know if you guys call yourself Manitobians. It seems like a weird word. Most of us have a very low consumption of fresh caught fish or fresh sea vegetables, and we definitely don't get exposure to the ocean very often. So something else that leaches iodine out of our system is soy. Things like tofu, minsu, and table salts. Table salts naturally used to contain iodine, but iodized salt now is using a synthetic type of iodine that is not compatible with our bodies. So switch to like a natural sea salt if you can find a good one. Avena has been searching the entire globe, and we can't find a sea salt anymore that meets our high commitment to quality. We are testing for microplastics and chemicals, and they're coming back way beyond safety limits in almost every salt found around the world. So we switched to the pink Himalayan salt because it's the only salt I can find that is rich in minerals and yet safe and clean. Which brings us to the idea of we need iodine. So supplementing with iodine becomes really important. I'm now carrying a Natural Choice Products version of a essential ionic iodine. It's in a base of organic vegetable glycerin, contains no alcohols, no outside aspects. And the acetate iodine, which is an ionic form, is free of any kind of bond. And so it can be absorbed directly into your cells. And it's very difficult to overabsorb it because the cellular gateways, they just close off when they've had too much. Some other things we can do to support our thyroid: proteolytic probiotics, super digestive enzymes, vitamin C. Electric C has been known to be so good at reversing radiation damage and cause and buildup of radiation in our organs, tissues, and glands. Coming close to the end of this presentation here, we're right up at the top of that head where we see a lot of infections. Types of infections could be bacterial, viral, fungal, even parasitic. Lifestyle changes, things that we can do to minimize the infections in our lifestyle: avoid dairy, wheat, raw and cooked meats, sugar and food dyes. And tools, I'll go into a lot more detail on fighting infections in our a natural immunity webinar that's available on the website to view. But the overview is probiotics, enzymes, zinc, colloidal silver, superfood, electric C, and using the para-E's to fight off any kind of parasitic infection. And again, I won't spend too much time on the immunity aspect and how the products help immunity, because we did a whole webinar, and that is going to be your most powerful source. The brain. Conditions that people experience from a sluggish or underburdened or toxic brain is mental sluggishness, poor memory, Alzheimer's, phobias and mental disorders of all kinds. Tools that you can use to directly work with this brain: Herbal Brilliance. Use 4 capsules twice a day. Almost everybody that does this notices an improved mental clarity, improved focus, improved work ethic, their better concentration, clearer mind. In the office, we actually did a little comparison test on this. We provided a bottle of Herbal Brilliance to every staff member if they committed to taking 3 capsules twice a day. And after a 2-week period of time, every single employee noticed an improvement in their work production, their focus, their ability to get back on task or concentrate. Enzymes are one of the few things that can cross through that blood-brain barrier and actually get right into the tissues of the brain and start making a difference. And effusion because it's a natural blood thinner, because it's a cellular cleanser, and that vitamin E, our tissue, or our vitamins looking for tissues to heal. So we just ripped through a lot of information there in over 50 minutes. I know that is going to feel like you've just been drinking from a fire hose. I've been throwing so much information at you so quickly that this will be recorded. And you can watch this. You can move slide by slide and pause it whenever you need to. You can take notes. If you've felt this information is valuable and that you have a better understanding on how to work with our organs and tissues and glands in our body, and if you have friends and family members that are having a lot of these conditions, show them how they can support these organs to naturally support that body to heal. Share the link with them. The link that you will receive in an email will be an exact replica of this presentation, and you won't be able to fast forward or pause or skip through it. But I will be downloading this as a YouTube video and uploading it onto our website. Simply click on live webinars or exciting events and then live webinars, and you can scroll through and you can see all the different ones we've done, and those will act like a YouTube video where you can pause, fast forward, rewind, skip, whatever you need to do to get access to this information. And just to close with another disclaimer, none of these products that we talked about tonight are designed to treat or cure disease. All of the curing and healing happens through the human body. What the products are designed to do is provide the nutrition and help remove the burden off of the organs, the tissues, and the glands. And by doing so, the body naturally heals. And it doesn't have to be complicated. This really works. Simply by detoxifying and providing the tools, the organ naturally heals and cleanses and repairs itself. And it happens every day, all day long. And it happens in situations where people are given days to live or weeks to live. If given 3 days to live with disease rapid throughout multiple states of your body, causing cancers and organ failures, if that person can come around and be 100% healthy again, then every one of us have that ability. We just have to work with our body instead of working against it. So I'm going to take this opportunity just to read back in the chat, because I didn't really have a chance to answer a lot of the questions. This would be a great time to start posting new questions, but I'll start at the very first questions and I'll just try to answer the questions as I go through here. So Yuki's first question. Question number 1. Yogurt recipe you mentioned some weeks ago used RP3. So enzymes in the RP3 won't be affecting fermentation. It improves and speeds up fermentation. Enzymes don't stop the fermentation. No, not at all. And that was one of the tests that we did to see if we could ferment RP3. So we just used the RP3 directly and added the probiotic water and watched it start fermenting that entire RP3. So we know that the enzymes in there don't negatively affect the fermentation process. So you're totally okay to use RP3 if you want to, but you're also not required to. Tara, I have seen Colin Campbell's work, Forks Over Knives. I've got a few questions for Colin Campbell, obviously, that I've never been able to ask him. He seems to make a huge jump from dairy into all animal products with a bunch of his research. Now, I've read his entire book that movie was based on, called The China Study. And the China Study was greatly done, and it was a wonderful source of knowledge and information and research. But there's also some scientific jumps that require quite a bit of assumptions. And the assumptions are what I would like to see explored a little bit more. I'm probably on board with what he's saying, but I'd like to see it scientifically proved a little bit better. But I think that's really good. Another couple movies that you might really like if you liked Fork Over Knives. One was called Food Matters and Hungry for Change. Also another one is Fat, Sick, and Nearly Dead. These are all great documentaries. They're available on Netflix. Oh, another one that just recently came out was What the Health and Game Changers. If you haven't watched any of these, I would encourage people to watch all of them, as they're all coming from different angles and different opinions, but they all come back to the same idea that the human body is amazing at healing itself, and that the lifestyle and the diet that we consider standard in North America is not providing health. Yuki's question number 2. We do use the packing peanuts in your packages are compostable. They're made out of cornstarch, and so they're not styrofoam. The seals around the bottles at this point are plastic, as there isn't a good enough option outside of that. So those are not compostable. They would have to go in the garbage or included with your plastic recycling would be the preferable option. Bettina's asking, do the solutions for the liver break down gallbladder and kidney stones? Enzymes will help, absolutely. But incorporating things like apple cider vinegar, the malic acid in apples, which is highly concentrated in apple cider vinegar, really helps soften those stones. And by softening them, enzymes can penetrate far deeper inside of that stone. When you get an enzyme into the middle of that stone, you can start dissolving it from the inside out. And that's where your best breakdown of gallbladder and kidney stones happen, is by using high levels of malic acid in apple cider vinegar and high levels of enzymes together at the same time. Are the 6 supplements safe to be taken together for the small intestine? No. You would want to keep some of them separate. So any of the cleansers, like the herb cocktail and the Perriers, those can be combined together. Anything outside of the detoxifications can be combined together. So like the enzymes, the probiotics, the E-fusion, technically all those could go together in one as well. But you wouldn't want to combine any of the enhancing or empowering healing products with the eliminating toxin products. So you can see this separated on our website. You can look at any of the products under eliminating toxins. Those all have to be taken alone, away from Empower Healing products or away from enhancing nutrition products. But the Empower Healing and the nutritional products can be taken together if you needed to. For a beginner, what are the first few supplements that I'd recommend? Thank you for asking that. That's a great question. For the beginner, I would start with the herb cocktail. I truly believe that over 95% of the symptoms that we manifest are caused by toxicities, and the herb cocktail is such an incredible product to pull toxins from our organs, our tissues, and our glands. Keep in mind, detoxification is not fun. And you'll likely experience things like fatigue and headaches, abdominal discomfort, loose stools for the first, 7 to 10 days. And that's perfectly normal, and it's okay to go through. And by going through that, you'll experience a better level of health on the other side. Second product I'd recommend is the enzymes and the probiotics. If you could incorporate those three, that would be a foundational, awesome start. Detoxification, enzymes work at cleansing and healing, and probiotics work at cleansing and healing as well. So those three products together for almost any condition is a fundamental starting point that I often recommend. In fact, it's part of every protocol that I recommend. Agnes, I kind of touched on this. The herb cocktail and the HC Plus and the Para Ease probably should be kept separate of any other product. And why this is the herb cocktail forms into a gel, and it's like a vacuum cleaner. It's pulling everything it can into that gel. Now, assuming that this is all undigested food and toxins and bacterias, everything that is negative that shouldn't be there in that small intestinal, large intestinal system. If you combine it with food, vitamins, minerals, medications, there's a good chance that a lot of that gel is going to be absorbed or absorbing that nutritional aspect. And by doing that, you're going to minimize the benefits you got from the foods, but you're also going to fill up this gel with good stuff instead of bad stuff. And that gel can only hold so much toxicity or so much volume that you don't want to fill it up with a fresh fruit smoothie. So try to keep it 1 hour away from other supplements, medications, or foods. Most people will try to do the cleansing products late at night and sometime mid-morning. I do mine at like my first break around 10 a.m. and I do it an hour before bed at night. And that seems to work really well in my lifestyle. Lorraine, your comment on the eFusion being a natural blood thinner. Absolutely, it does really well at helping to lower blood pressures and thinning the blood, but so do enzymes. And enzymes are an anti-clotter as well because they prevent the building up of that. Deborah, when you apply the coupon for shipping, it should provide the same shipping quotes that are there, just it'll take any of the ones under $15 and provide it to $0. The heat-infused safety seals are not compostable as well. So those are good in the garbage as well, Yuki. Alana Jean Lewis, I do have iodine. I have the Nasite iodine in stock. It's not an Avena product and it's not with an Avena label on it, but it is the formula that Avena is using. And so we're still trying to work with a manufacturing facility within Canada that has a site license with Health Canada to produce that. And once we do that, then we can have it under the Avena code or the Avena label and our NPN number. So if you'd like to purchase it, you need to call Avena. It won't be on our website as we carry it from another company, one of our sister companies. Daria, the herb cocktail should be taken on an empty stomach. That is the best way of doing it because you don't want to absorb your meal, food, or medications or smoothies into the gel. The herb cocktail is a detoxification. So Deborah, just to emphasize on that shipping coupon again, first you need to go and choose a shipping method that you want to ship it to your house with. After you've done that, then apply the coupon at the checkout. And then that should take your shipping cost and zero it to $0. Thank you guys. These are really good questions. Thank you for participating in tonight's call. Make sure you take advantage of that free shipping until midnight tonight. Stipulations of free shipping are it has to be within Canada has to be over $100, your order, before you have shipping and handling added. So the subtotal before shipping and handling has to be over $100. And then simply add that coupon code, which you'll see under offers as SHIP929. And go ahead and click on that blue box, and it should automatically apply the coupon code for you as well. Donna, you're having a difficulty time taking 10 super digestive enzymes at a time. So here's some of my tricks. I fill my mouth with water and the capsules, and I look down. And why I do that is so the capsules will naturally float. So then the capsules float right to the back of my throat, and while looking down, I swallow. So all the fluid or water in my mouth comes behind the capsules and flushes them down. I find that's far easier. We're often used to taking tablets, which will sink to the bottom of the water. So in that case, we want to tilt our head back and drink the water, so the capsule goes to the back of our throat. But with capsules like Avena's, they'll float. And so you want to do the opposite. Fill your mouth with water, look down, and swallow while looking down. And naturally, that'll help that capsule go down all the way. I can take 10 capsules all at once in one swallow by doing that method. If you're still really struggling with the capsules, you can simply grab each end, pull them apart, and empty the powder into your water or your juice. I'm not sure what you mean by why is there aluminum in the minerals. I'm sure there isn't, the aluminum heavy metal in Avena's minerals. Is this on the label, or where are you seeing this? So here's a link right to the minerals website where you can click on ingredients. You'll see it's iron, potassium, magnesium, calcium, zinc, copper, manganese, chromium, molybdenum, vanillin, selenium, horsetail, and dulse. Non-medicinal ingredients are rice flour and hypercellulose, which is the capsule, the vegetable material. I don't have a mineral bottle with me right now, Kimberly, but call the office tomorrow. I'd love to have a follow-up conversation, because even the NPN from Health Canada does not list aluminum on there. There might be a gross typo on that label, but it's definitely not in the formula, because that's set by Health Canada as well as on our website. I'll look into it tomorrow, though, for you, once our quality assurance guy is here, and we can do a label review if that's where you're seeing it. Because I don't see it on NPN, I don't see it on Health Canada's license on it, and it's definitely not on our website. Yeah, Michelle, you'll find the Herbal Brilliance, but you'll find it's out of stock. We are working hard to have that back in stock. It'll likely be the end of the year, though. So we're currently looking at like December for it. Any other questions? Everybody's doing okay with the coupon except for Deborah. Let me see if I can help you here, Deborah. Deborah, if you could send me a private message with your email address, that would speed up my assistance for you as well. And Deborah, can you give that shipping coupon code a try again? I think I might have found a restriction it had on your address that I tried to remove, and see if that helps. Hey, Kimberly, I'm sure you could discuss with Marge and see if she's willing to offer a different type of discount. Right now, that's the only discount I can offer on this webinar. But Marge, because she's her own business in Winnipeg, that she is capable of offering her own discount, something that she might want to do for the components, people that are on this call but purchasing from her. Right, Lorraine. Yeah, I don't see any reason why foot oil applied to your chest or your feet would interfere with ingested nutrients. Thank you, everybody, for being part of the call tonight. Enjoy the rest of your evening. I'll turn on my webcam here again. It was a pleasure being here and just kind of walking through a lot of this information with you. I really hope that this information helps you understand how you can address some of your issues. And by doing so, you can support those organs to naturally heal and reverse. Yes, Gene, the Mesite iodine is in stock at Avena. You just have to call. It's not available on the website, and it's not under the Avena label. Foot oil is different than the massage oil. Yes, the foot oil is really high in eucalyptus oils and camphor, whereas the massage oil is not. So they are different oils. What does massage oil smell like? I would say massage oil smells like massage oil, like similar to like raven oil, if you're familiar with that smell. Peppermint, camphor, eucalyptus, kind of a blend of those three oils. It's a fantastic oil. I use it for muscle tissues. I use it for colds, congestions. I put it in my bath water, and it's just like a deep penetrating muscle relaxant. All right, everybody, we're 13 minutes kind of overdue here on our hour webinar. So I'm going to close her down. If you guys have any questions that weren't answered tonight, by all means, email me, message us on Facebook, or call us in the office tomorrow. We're open 9 to 5. Phone number is 1-800-207-2239. Email you can reach us at is team@avenaoriginals.com. And our Facebook is Avena Originals, or visit us online at avenaoriginals.com. No, you won't lose your discount if you go back to the store. That's Rochelle. The coupon will stay. You're totally okay just to go back to the store, go shopping some more, and come back. The coupon will stay with you. And if for any reason it drops, just enter that ship code, SHIP929. Thank you guys. Have a wonderful evening. It's a pleasure as always. Many blessings to every one of you guys. Please be on the call next week and bring some friends, share the information. I would love to see the interest in the growth of these calls continue to increase. Have a wonderful evening, guys. Goodbye.